Hello, welcome to Live Lunch with Pastor. This is Pastor Tony Gandula, and we're going to jump into part 3 and the final part of Jesus's focus in the storm, using the real-life storm and story of Paul the Apostle. And we're going to come to the third part of it. And there's a part 3, in our lives, we look at our situation and then we look at how God comes and intervenes. And we're like, well, that was part 1, and part 2, God is coming to the rescue. But there's a part 3. This is what Jesus is focusing on. See, Paul the Apostle found himself and the prisoners and 276 men on a ship found themselves in Acts chapter 27 in the storm that started in verse 13. And then they saw themselves delivered in the storm with a mighty word from God that was in verse, praise God. Fear not, verse 24, Acts 27:24. Fear not, Paul. Thou must be brought before Caesar. This is not your end. And lo, God has given you all them that sail with thee. The Lord had given him 275 souls. If it was counting Paul, then it would be a little bit different number there, 276. Regardless, God is interested in souls. You may not be able to understand, why are we in a storm right now? Why is America in a storm? Why have you been in a storm? Why has the whole world been in this storm? The bottom line is God is interested in people, and God is interested in souls. And Paul did not realize there was more, because at the end of that word from God to Paul that changed the entire course of their storm, there was an answer for more. Because Paul said this in verse 26, howbeit, but there's a big, wait, there's more. We must cast upon a certain island. God has something in mind, and there's a certain group of people, more than the 276 men on this ship, that God has given to you, Paul, that God has given to you to be in your situation. You're not alone in it. The people that are there, God has given them to you. What is the purpose of the storm? Souls. And God has his eye. His focus is on the next assignment. There's a certain island that I've not forgotten about these people. They need me, and they need your message, Paul. They need your testimony, believer. And God has them in mind. A certain island that we must, in Paul's word, in King James, we must be cast upon. God's not done yet. We think we're done. We see a deliverance. We see a rescue. We have a word from God. But the story is not over, because there's more souls. 276 souls were on that island. We're on that ship, but there's more on this island. So I want to start off with Acts 19, verse 11 and 12. There are people, this isn't the verse, this is the title of this. There are people that are expecting you in the storm. This is what Jesus is focusing on. Acts 19, verse 11 and 12. And God wrought special miracles by the hands of Paul. You have a special ministry that God has wrought inside of you. If you know Christ, if you've given your heart to Jesus and you've been following him, all is for naught, is not for naught. There's a work God's been doing in you. You have a special ability nobody else has. And you have a special journey and a place to go that they cannot go. I know this is true, and I'll explain to you why as soon as I say this verse one more time. Acts 19, verse 11 and 12. And God wrought special miracles by the hands of Paul, so that from his body were brought unto the sick handkerchiefs or aprons, and the diseases departed from them, and the evil spirits went out of them. What is your special ministry? What is your special call? What is something that only you have gone to or gone through, or can be that person sent to some bizarre place because God has a plan? I'll share a testimony with you that is not my testimony. It's the testimony of Raymond Juarez. My father's house, faithful